All right, let's jump right in. We're going to be diving into the world of Jimvalo Melchizedek's book, The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life. Now, this book puts forward a pretty radical idea, that there's this huge, forgotten chapter of human history, and rediscovering it could completely flip our understanding of, well, everything.
And the whole thing kicks off with one single, absolutely baffling question. How on earth could a remote, ancient tribe know highly specific things about the stars that our own modern science only managed to confirm like in the last 100 years or so? This one mystery, it's the thread that unravels the entire story.
And here's where it gets really wild. Take a look. On the left, that's a diagram made by the Dogon tribe in Africa. It's over 700 years old. On the right, that's a modern, computer-generated map of the Sirius star system. You see it, right? The orbital path they drew is almost a perfect match. I mean, come on, how is that even possible? To even begin to understand this, we've got to dig a little deeper into what exactly the Dogon tribe knew. We're talking about knowledge that, by all logical, historical accounts, they simply should not have had. Get this. Their ancient traditions talked all about how Sirius, the brightest star in our night sky, actually has a tiny companion star, a star we now call Sirius B. It's totally invisible without a seriously powerful telescope. They also knew it was a white dwarf, one of the densest things in the universe, and they knew it took about 50 years to orbit the main star. And guess what? Modern astronomy confirms all of it. The actual orbital period is 50.1 years. That is just shockingly accurate.
So, naturally, the question is, how did they know? Well, when you ask the Dogon elders, they point to their ancient cave drawings. They say this knowledge wasn't discovered. It was a gift from beings who came from the Sirius system itself, landed in a ship, and just told their ancestors all about it.
Now, the source material argues that this whole Dogon mystery isn't just some weird, isolated fluke. Nope. It's a clue. It's like a breadcrumb, leading us back to a massive, world-altering event in our past that the book simply calls the Fall.
This quote right here really lays it all out. The core idea is that we, as a species, weren't always like this. We existed in a much, much higher state of being, and we've basically forgotten who and what we really are. And these little impossible glitches in history, they're the first signs of those memories starting to bubble back up to the surface.
More specifically, the book zeroes in on an event about 13,000 years ago, during the last days of Atlantis. It describes it not as some slow, gradual decline, but as a sudden, catastrophic plummet in consciousness, a dimensional shift that went wrong and sent us spiraling down into the dense, polarized reality we find ourselves in today.
So what happened? What was the actual mechanism that caused this fall from grace? Well, according to the book, it wasn't an asteroid or a war. It was a fundamental change in something we all do every single moment of our lives: breathing.
But we're not just talking about breathing air. The text is talking about breathing something called prana, the universal life force energy that's in everything. Apparently, how we take this energy into our bodies completely dictates our perception of reality. And a long, long time ago, we did it very differently.
Okay, so here's the before and after, and this is really the heart of the whole idea. Way back when, humans supposedly drew prana in through the pineal gland right in the center of the brain. This created what's called unity consciousness, a direct experience that all life is one. But after the fall, we started breathing through our nose and mouth. This route actually bypasses the pineal gland, and the result? Polarity consciousness. Seeing everything in terms of good and evil, right and wrong, you versus me. Sound familiar?
So, if a simple change in breathing caused this whole mess, it stands to reason there might be a way to reverse it. And that's where the book introduces this concept of remembering and reactivating a dormant piece of our own spiritual anatomy, something called the Merkabah.
The book describes this as a complex, geometric field of pure light that exists around every single one of us. It's shaped like a star tetrahedron, which is basically a 3D Star of David. For almost everyone on the planet, this incredible energy field is just sitting there, dormant, not spinning, not working.
The name itself is fascinating. It comes from ancient Egypt. Mer means a special kind of counter-rotating light. Ka is the individual spirit, and Ba is the body, or your personal interpretation of reality. So you put it all together, and Merkabah means a vehicle of light for your spirit and body.
And check this out. This is that classic as above, so below idea in action. On the left, you've got the diagram of the Merkabah field. On the right,
an infrared photo of the Sombrero Galaxy. The geometry, it's the same. The book suggests this pattern is like a fundamental blueprint for creation itself, from our own energy field all the way up to the cosmic scale.
So what does it do? Well, when it gets activated through very specific techniques, these light fields start spinning again. The book describes the fully activated Merkaba as nothing less than an interdimensional vehicle, literally capable of carrying our consciousness back up to those higher states of awareness from which we supposedly fell.
So, of course, the big question is how? How can we reactivate this incredible dormant potential? The last part of our explainer here is going to look at the path the book lays out for remembering our original true state of being.
But here is the most important piece of the puzzle, and the author is crystal clear about this. The Merkaba isn't some machine you can just turn on with a few tricks. Without the presence of divine, unconditional love, it's just a spinning field. It's love, the book says, that is the fuel that transforms it from a piece of tech into a living, ascending field of light.
So the path laid out is essentially threefold. First, you have to satisfy the logical part of your brain. See the evidence of unity in all of creation. Second, you have to learn the ancient breathing patterns that get the prana flowing correctly again. And third, and this is the big one, you have to open your heart and really center your entire life in that feeling of divine, unconditional love.
And so, this whole body of work really leaves us with a massive, and I think pretty challenging question to chew on. Is it possible that by looking back at these impossible ancient mysteries, like the Dogon, and by re-examining our own dormant potential, we might actually be rediscovering a lost science of the soul? Could it be that the real key to our future is hidden deep within our most ancient, forgotten past?